Power is never inherited in peace. It is taken in silence, long before anyone dares to name it. Welcome to Bedtime Chinese History Stories. Tonight, you step inside the struggle for the throne among the princes of the Qing era. The struggle for the throne among the princes of the Qing era, where 9 sons circle one throne, and none of them trust the air they breathe. You stand in the forbidden city before dawn. The sky is still dark, a deep blue pressed low over the golden rooftops. Lanterns burn low along the palace corridors, their light trembling in the cold air. The stone beneath your feet holds the chill of the night. It seeps upward through your shoes, slow and patient, like a warning that has been waiting for years. Nothing moves, and yet everything feels awake. You hear it first. Not voices, not footsteps, breathing. Guards stand in place along the red walls, their armor still, their eyes forward, but even from where you stand, you can feel it. Each breath is careful, measured, as if even the act of breathing too loudly might be remembered later and used against them. You walk forward. The vast courtyard stretches ahead, empty and precise, every tile aligned, every pillar straight. Order is everywhere. It is perfect, and because it is perfect, it feels unnatural. Somewhere beyond these walls, the Emperor lies awake. He is old now, not weak, not yet, but time has begun to press its hand against him. You cannot see him, but you feel him, like a weight hanging over the entire palace. His presence is not just authority, it is gravity. Everything bends toward it, and yet there is no center, no chosen heir that holds firm. That is the problem. You stop beneath a row of carved beams. The wood above you is painted in deep red and gold, patterns layered so thick they seem to hide something beneath them. You look closer, and for a moment, you imagine cracks hidden under the paint. You are not the only one who sees them. Somewhere in this palace, 9 princes are awake. 9 sons of the same father. 9 men who grew up under the same roof, who learned the same lessons, who bowed to the same throne. But now each of them sees something different when they look at that throne. You feel it in the air. It is not loud, not yet. There are no open arguments, no raised voices, no visible conflict, only distance. A door closes softly somewhere to your left. You turn, but you see nothing, just a corridor stretching into shadow. Yet the sound lingers. It feels deliberate, controlled, like someone choosing exactly how much noise they are allowed to make. Even silence here is calculated. You continue walking. The smell of incense drifts faintly from a distant hall. It is thin, almost fading, as if it has been burning all night without anyone tending it. The scent is meant to calm, to purify. But instead, it clings to the air like something unfinished. You pass a servant. He lowers his head immediately, stepping aside. His hands are steady, but his eyes do not rise, not even for a moment. You notice how quickly he moves away once you pass, as if standing still for too long might place him in the wrong story. Everyone here is careful, because everyone knows something has already begun. You reach the edge of another courtyard. The horizon is just starting to pale. A thin line of light cuts across the sky, soft and distant. Morning is coming, but it does not feel like a beginning. It feels like something being revealed. You imagine the princes in their separate chambers. One sits in silence, staring at a scroll he is not reading. Another speaks in low tones with a trusted ally. Each word weighed before it leaves the mouth. One lies awake, eyes open, unmoving, as if sleep itself has become dangerous. None of them will say it out loud, not yet, but they all understand the same truth. The throne is no longer a promise. It is a question, and every one of them believes they are the answer. A faint bell rings in the distance. Once clear, cold, it cuts through the stillness like a blade. The sound spreads across the palace, touching every wall, every corridor, every hidden room. Morning has arrived, and with it, the performance begins. You take a breath. The air feels sharper now, because today, nothing will happen, and that is exactly why everything has already started. The bell's echo fades, but the palace does not return to silence. It changes. You feel it in the way the air shifts. The stillness breaks, not into chaos, but into motion that is too smooth, too practiced. Doors open in quiet rhythm. Steps begin to cross the stone paths. The day has begun, and every movement now has an audience, even when no one is watching. You walk forward with the others. Officials appear from side corridors, their robes flowing in soft layers, dark and precise. They move in lines that never collide, never hesitate. Their faces are calm, almost empty, but their eyes flicker, quick and sharp, measuring everything they pass. You lower your gaze just as they do, not out of respect, out of survival. The morning light grows stronger. It spills over the rooftops and slides down the golden tiles, catching on edges and corners. For a moment, everything looks pure, clean, as if nothing beneath it has begun to rot. You know better now. You enter a wider courtyard, and there, for the first time, you feel them. Not see them clearly. Feel them. One prince passes at a distance. He does not look at you. He does not need to. His presence moves like a straight line, controlled and firm. The people around him shift slightly, just enough to create space. Not out of fear. Not exactly. More like recognition of weight. Another follows, from a different direction. His steps are slower, softer. He pauses once, just briefly, as if listening to something no one else can hear. When he moves again, it is with care. Each step placed as though the ground itself might betray him. They do not acknowledge each other, not even a glance. And yet, the space between them feels charged, like two storms passing without touching. You continue walking, but now every figure you see feels different. No longer just part of the palace. Now, each one could belong to someone. A servant carrying tea, an official adjusting his sleeve, a guard turning his head half a breath too late. You begin to notice patterns. Small ones, repeated ones, a nod given only to certain people, a pause before entering a doorway, a whisper that ends the moment you come near. Nothing is obvious. Everything is intentional. You pass under another gate. The wood is heavy, carved with symbols that promise order, loyalty, and eternal stability. Your fingers brush lightly against the surface as you walk by. The texture is smooth from years of touch, but beneath it, you feel something else. Pressure, as if the gate itself is holding back something that wants to break through. Inside, the atmosphere tightens. This is where the morning rituals gather. Rows begin to form. Officials take their places with perfect precision. No one speaks above a whisper. Even the fabric of their robes seems to move more quietly here, as if it understands the rules. You stand at the edge, watching, listening, waiting. Then, a subtle shift. It starts at the front, too far for you to see clearly. A movement, a change in posture. Heads lower, almost in unison. The signal spreads backward, like a ripple across still water. He is present. You do not see him directly, but you feel the weight settle over everything. Conversations die instantly. Breathing slows. Even your own chest tightens without permission. The emperor does not need to speak. His silence is enough. Time stretches. Moments pass, but they feel longer here. Each second carries meaning, even if nothing happens within it. You begin to understand that this is how control works. Not through force, through awareness. Through the constant knowledge that every action is seen, remembered, and judged. Somewhere in the formation, a prince stands closer to the center. You cannot see his face, but you notice how others stand around him. Slightly angled, slightly distant. Not enough to be called disrespect, just enough to be noticed. You feel it again. That thin line of doubt. It moves through the crowd like a quiet current. No one names it, but everyone adjusts to it. The ritual continues. Voices rise briefly, then fall. Words are spoken, but they feel rehearsed, emptied of anything real. The sound echoes softly against the high walls, never lingering long enough to become dangerous. And still, beneath it all, something waits. You shift your weight slightly, careful not to draw attention. The stone beneath you has warmed just a little from the rising sun, but it does nothing to ease the tension in your body. Because now you understand this is not peace. This is balance, and balance can break. Another bell sounds, softer this time. The formation begins to loosen. Lines dissolve into movement once more. Officials step back, turning, leaving in controlled directions. No one rushes, no one lingers. But as they pass each other, something changes. The looks are quicker now, sharper, more deliberate. You catch a single glance between two men. It lasts less than a breath. But it says everything. A decision has been made. Not spoken, not written, but made. You feel it settle into the air. Quiet and irreversible. The day is still young, and already the lines have begun to move. The courtyard empties, but the tension does not leave with it. It follows you. You move with the flow of officials, turning into a narrower corridor where the light becomes softer, filtered through wooden screens. The brightness of morning fades into something more controlled here. Shadows stretch longer along the walls, thin and precise, like lines drawn with care. Your footsteps slow, not because you choose to, because something ahead pulls your attention. A door stands slightly open. That alone is unusual. Doors here do not forget to close. They do not remain open by accident. Every space in this palace is sealed with intention. So when you see that narrow gap, just wide enough to let a strip of light spill into the corridor, you feel it immediately. This is not carelessness. This is a moment. You stop, no one else does. They pass behind you, in front of you, each one pretending not to notice. Their eyes remain forward, their pace unchanged, but you sense it. They know the door is there. They simply choose not to exist near it. You take one step closer. The wood is dark, polished, smooth from years of hands that never linger. The light inside is warmer than the corridor, almost golden. It flickers slightly, as if from a lamp that has burned longer than it should. You do not push the door, you listen. At first nothing, then a breath, uneven. You lean just enough to see. Inside, a man stands alone. He wears robes that mark him as something more than ordinary, yet not fully untouchable. His back is straight but not relaxed. His hands are clasped behind him, fingers pressed together so tightly that the knuckles pale. He is still, too still. In front of him lies a table. On it a scroll remains unrolled, untouched. The ink is fresh. You can see the slight shine where it has not yet fully dried. He has not read it, or he has read it too many times. You cannot tell which. He exhales again, slowly this time, as if trying to control the rhythm of his own body. His head lowers just a fraction, not in respect, not in rest, but in something closer to weight. Expectation. You realize who he is. The one who stands closest to the throne. The one who is supposed to be certain. And yet nothing about him feels certain. A faint sound breaks the stillness. Footsteps, approaching, not hurried, not hesitant, measured. The man inside does not turn immediately. For a brief moment he remains exactly as he is, as if deciding whether to acknowledge what is coming, or to pretend it does not exist. Then, slowly, he turns. His face comes into view. It is calm, practiced calm, but his eyes betray something else. There is a flicker there, quick and sharp, like a flame that refuses to settle. You see it only for a moment before it disappears again, buried beneath control. The footsteps stop just outside the door. A shadow falls across the narrow opening. No words, not yet. The silence stretches. It is not empty. It is full of choices. Inside, the man shifts his weight slightly, just enough to show that he is aware, just enough to show that he will not be caught unprepared. Outside, the shadow does not move. Two presences, separated by a door that is barely open, and yet neither crosses the line. You feel your own breath slow, because now you understand something deeper. This is not about open conflict. It is about distance, about how close one can stand to power without being consumed by it. A voice finally breaks the silence. Soft, controlled. You cannot hear the words clearly, but you feel their shape. They are careful, chosen with precision. Each one placed as if it might be remembered later, and turned into something else. The man inside responds. His voice is just as calm, but there is a difference. A slight delay, a fraction of a second too long. It is almost nothing, almost, but here almost is enough. The air tightens, the conversation continues, low and steady. No raised tones, no sudden movements. And yet, something inside it feels unstable, like a surface that looks smooth but hides cracks beneath. You step back, not because you are told to, because you know you should not be here. The corridor feels colder now. You turn away, letting the door slip out of your sight, but not out of your mind. Behind you, The voices continue. Measured, polite, dangerous. You walk forward again, but your thoughts remain behind that door. Because you have seen it now. The doubt. Not whispered in corridors, not hidden in glances, but standing, breathing, inside the one who should have none. And once doubt enters, it does not leave quietly. It spreads slowly, carefully, until even certainty begins to feel like a performance. The palace stretches ahead of you once more. Bright, ordered, unchanged. But now you can feel it beneath everything. Something is weakening, not loudly, not visibly, but enough. Enough for others to notice. Enough for them to begin moving closer, and somewhere, just beyond your sight, another pair of eyes has already seen the same thing you have. You keep walking, but the rhythm of the palace no longer feels smooth. There is a delay now, not in steps, not in speech, in trust. The corridor opens into a garden courtyard. The air here is softer, touched by the faint scent of damp earth and trimmed leaves. Sunlight filters through thin branches, laying shifting patterns across the stone path. It should feel calm. It should feel like a place meant to rest the mind. It does not. You notice them before they notice each other. Two figures approach from different sides of the garden. Their pace is unhurried, but not relaxed. Each step is placed with quiet care, as if the ground itself might reveal intention. They are not surrounded by large groups. Only one or two attendants follow at a respectful distance. That alone tells you something. They want fewer witnesses. You slow down, letting a carved pillar block part of your view. You do not hide. You simply become less visible. That is enough. The first man stops near a low stone table. He does not sit. His hand brushes lightly over the surface, feeling its edge, as if grounding himself in something solid. The second arrives. Moments later, they face each other. For a brief second, nothing happens. Then, both incline their heads. The gesture is perfect, equal, measured, and completely empty. You feel it immediately. This is not respect. This is calculation. One of them speaks first. His voice is low, smooth, almost warm. It carries just enough ease to suggest confidence, but not enough to feel careless. The other listens without interruption. His face remains still, but his eyes shift slightly, following every detail. Not the words, the pauses between them. The breath taken before a sentence. The slight change in tone that most would miss. You begin to understand. These are not conversations. These are tests. A question is asked, not directly. It arrives wrapped in something harmless. A comment about the morning ritual. A mention of timing, of presence, of observation. The reply comes just as carefully. Neither confirms, neither denies. They move around the truth, circling it without touching. A breeze passes through the garden. Leaves tremble softly, brushing against each other with a dry whisper. For a moment it is the only sound. Then a third figure appears at the edge of the courtyard. He does not approach fully. He pauses just within sight, as if uncertain whether he is expected. The two men notice him at the same time. You see it in the smallest shift. A tightening of the shoulders. A change in stance. The space between them adjusts. It is subtle, but it is real. The third man steps forward now, slower than before. His eyes move between the two, careful not to linger too long on either. His expression is calm, but there is something behind it. Awareness. He knows he is entering something already in motion. The greeting repeats, another bow, another perfect gesture, and again, no warmth. Now there are three, and the air grows heavier. The conversation changes shape. It becomes lighter on the surface, more casual. Words that sound harmless. Observations about the day, about duties, about small matters that carry no weight. But beneath it, something sharp begins to form. You feel it in the pauses. They are longer now, more deliberate. Each man waits, not just for a response, but for a mistake. One speaks slightly too quickly. Another smiles just a fraction too late. The third says nothing at all for too long, tiny things. Almost nothing. But here, almost is enough. You notice how none of them step closer. The distance between them remains exact. Equal, controlled, as if stepping forward even half a pace would mean surrendering something unseen. A servant approaches quietly, carrying tea. He kneels, hands steady, offering the cups one by one. No one drinks immediately. They wait, each watching the others. Then one lifts his cup, the others follow, not before, not after, together. Even this is measured. Even this is a signal. You feel the tension settle deeper into your chest, because now it is clear. They are no longer just observing, they are positioning. The garden, once open and calm, now feels like a board where every piece has begun to move. And no one is willing to show their true direction. The conversation ends without ending. No conclusion, no agreement. Only a slow fading of words. One of them steps back first, a small bow. Then he turns, leaving without haste. The second follows, but not immediately. He lingers just long enough to suggest independence. Then he too walks away. The third remains for a moment longer. Alone, he looks at the empty space where the others stood. His expression does not change, but his eyes narrow slightly. Just enough. Then he turns as well. And the garden returns to stillness, but it is not the same stillness as before. You stand there, listening to the leaves, to the faint echo of footsteps already gone, and you realize something has shifted again. Not openly, not loudly, but in a way that cannot be undone. They are no longer just aware of each other. Now they are watching and waiting for the first one to move too far. You leave the garden, but the silence follows you like a second shadow. It no longer feels empty. It feels watched. The path ahead leads you back into the inner halls, where the air is thicker, warmer, touched by the faint scent of burning oil and old wood. Light narrows here, slipping through high windows in thin strips that never quite reach the floor. Your steps echo more than before. Or perhaps you are simply listening more closely. A turn, another corridor. Then you notice it. A shift in movement, not faster, tighter. Officials walk with the same discipline, but something has changed in how they hold themselves. Shoulders are slightly raised, hands are kept closer to the body. Conversations, when they happen, end sooner than they should. You pass two men standing near a column. They are not speaking, yet one of them nods once. The other does not respond, but he understands. They separate immediately, walking in opposite directions, as if they had never stopped. You feel it again. Something is spreading. Not information. Suspicion. You reach a wider hall where several desks are arranged in careful rows. Papers lie stacked with perfect order. Brushes rest across inkstones, untouched, yet ready. It is a place meant for work, for decisions, for clarity. But no one is writing. They stand instead, waiting. A voice calls from the far end. Not loud, but it carries. One official steps forward. His movement is steady, but his breath is not. You can see it in the rise of his chest, slightly uneven, as if something inside him is trying to break through. He kneels. The sound of fabric against stone is soft, but it echoes in the stillness. A question is asked. You cannot hear the exact words, but you feel the weight of them. They are not about routine matters. They are about intent. The man answers carefully, each word placed as if it might be his last chance to shape how he is seen. His voice remains controlled, but there is a strain beneath it, thin but undeniable. You watch the others. They do not look at him. They look at the one who asked, waiting, measuring the reaction, because here the answer matters less than how it is received. A pause follows, longer than expected. Then, a slight movement, not a gesture of approval. Not rejection. Something in between, and that is worse. The kneeling man lowers his head further. He understands. Uncertainty has been placed on him, and uncertainty here is a shadow that grows. He is dismissed. He rises, slowly, carefully, as if even standing carries risk. When he turns, his face is composed. But his eyes are different now. Narrower, focused inward. You know what that means. He will not remain still. None of them will. Another name is called. Another figure steps forward. The pattern repeats. Question, answer, pause. But each time the room grows tighter. The air feels heavier, as if every exchange is adding weight to something already close to breaking. You shift your position slightly, staying near the edge. You do not belong to this line, and that protects you, for now. A faint sound reaches you from outside. Boots, more than a few, moving in rhythm. Not rushing, but deliberate. You glance toward the entrance. Guards pass by, their presence stronger than before. Their eyes are sharper, their steps more defined. They are not here by accident, they are being placed. The realization settles slowly. This is no longer observation, this is preparation. Inside the hall, the questioning continues. But now, each answer feels like it is being recorded somewhere unseen. Not on paper, not in ink, in memory, in judgment. You notice one official hesitate, just for a moment. It is small, almost nothing, but the room reacts. Not outwardly. No one moves, no one speaks. Yet something changes. A line has been crossed, the hesitation passes, the answer completes. But it is too late. The damage is done. You feel it ripple through the space. Quiet, cold, final. The man steps back, returning to his place. But he is no longer where he was before. None of them are. You realize now what this is. Not a search for truth, a search for weakness. And weakness does not need to be proven, only noticed. The voice at the front falls silent. For the first time, no new name is called. The room holds its breath. Then slowly people begin to move again. Not dismissed, not released. Just allowed to leave. One by one. No signal, no command, but everyone understands. You step back into the corridor. The air feels cooler here, but it does not ease the pressure in your chest. Because now it is clear. The palace is no longer balancing. It is tightening. Every word, every glance, every pause, being weighed. And somewhere within all of this, the princes are not just watching each other anymore. They are being watched, more closely than ever. And soon, someone will be seen too clearly. The corridor outside feels wider, but not safer. You walk slower now. Not because you are tired, because something inside the palace has shifted from watching to acting. The light has climbed higher. It falls more directly through the windows, sharper, less forgiving. Dust in the air becomes visible, drifting in thin lines, like something exposed that was meant to remain unseen. Ahead, the movement gathers again, but this time it does not flow, it stops. A cluster of officials stands near the entrance to another hall, not speaking, not dispersing, simply waiting. That alone is wrong. You stop at a distance, just far enough to remain unnoticed. Then you hear it. A voice. Not loud, but it cuts through the space with precision. A name, only one. The sound lands like a stone dropped into still water. The group reacts instantly, not with shock, with control. Heads lower, backs straighten, eyes shift, but only for a fraction of a moment before returning to stillness. From within the group, a man steps forward. You recognize him. Not by name, by presence. He was steady before. Careful, measured. The kind of man who never moved too early, never spoke too soon. Now his steps are the same, but something is missing. The space around him feels thinner, as if the protection he once carried has already begun to fade. He walks toward the voice. Each step echoes, clear, unavoidable. No one follows. No one speaks. You notice how the others create space without being told. A path opens, not out of respect, but necessity. No one wants to stand too close to what is about to happen. The man reaches the center. He kneels. This time, the sound is louder, or perhaps the silence is deeper. The voice speaks again, still calm, still controlled. But now there is no softness in it, no room for interpretation. You cannot hear every word, but you understand the shape. This is not a question. This is a conclusion being delivered slowly. The man listens. He does not interrupt. He does not defend. He remains still, head lowered, hands placed carefully before him. Perfect, too perfect. Because now, perfection looks like surrender. A pause follows, long, heavy. Then a single phrase, short, final, the kind of words that do not need to be repeated. The man's body shifts, just slightly. It is the smallest movement you have seen all morning, but it breaks something. Not outside. Inside him you feel it, like a thread snapping in silence. He bows lower, deeper than before, not as part of the ritual, as acceptance. Behind you, someone exhales quietly, too quietly for most to notice. But you do, because now, every sound matters. The guards step forward, not rushing, not forceful. They do not touch him immediately. They wait, giving him the space to rise on his own. And he does, slowly, carefully, as if each movement must still follow the rules. Even now, when he stands, he does not look around. Not at the officials, not at the guards, not at the door. His gaze remains forward, empty, focused on something that is no longer there. The guards move beside him, one step behind, not leading, not pushing, just close enough to ensure he does not step away from the path chosen. For him, they begin to walk. The sound of their steps is steady, measured, unavoidable. You feel the entire hall watching, but no one turns their head. No one allows their eyes to follow him, because to watch too closely is to be seen watching, and that is dangerous. The man passes near you, closer than before. For a brief moment, you see his face clearly. There is no panic, no anger, no resistance, only absence, as if something has already been taken from him before this moment even arrived. He continues forward, disappearing into the corridor beyond. The guards follow then, silence, no announcement, no explanation. Nothing to mark what has just happened, except the space he leaves behind. It feels colder, sharper, permanent. The group begins to move again, slowly, carefully. Each person returning to motion as if nothing has changed. But everything has, you see it now. In the way they walk, in the way they avoid certain directions, in the way their hands remain still, as if even a gesture might betray them. Fear has taken shape, not loud, not chaotic. Precise, targeted, and effective. You turn slightly, looking back toward the path where the man was taken. It is already empty, as if he was never there, as if he has already been erased. But you know better. Nothing disappears here. It only shifts, moves, transforms into something else. A warning. You inhale slowly. The air feels heavier than before, because now the palace is no longer searching for weakness. It has found one, and it has acted, which means the next one is already being chosen. The space closes behind him, and the palace inhales, not in relief, in calculation. You do not follow the path where he was taken. No one does. That direction has already been marked, and anything marked becomes dangerous to approach. Instead, the current pulls you sideways, deeper into the palace where movement looks ordinary again. But it is not. You begin to notice the speed. Not fast, controlled, faster than before. Servants move with sharper turns. Messages are carried with tighter grips. Doors open and close with a rhythm that feels rehearsed, as if every action has been shortened to remove hesitation. Time itself feels compressed. You pass a narrow passage where two attendants exchange something small. Not a scroll, too thin, a folded slip, hidden between fingers, transferred in the briefest contact. No words, no pause. One hand releases, the other receives. And they continue walking in opposite directions. You would miss it if you were not looking. Now you cannot stop looking. Further ahead, a man stands beside a pillar. Alone, he is not waiting, he is placed. His eyes do not move much, but when they do, they follow patterns, not people. Patterns, the flow of movement, the direction of steps, the pauses where there should be none. You pass him, and for a fraction of a second, his gaze touches you. Not questioning, not curious. Recording, you feel it settle on you like a weight, then slides away as if you were never important enough to hold. That is how it works here. Attention is brief, but it is enough. You enter another hall, smaller, quieter. Here the voices return, low, close, controlled. Groups of 2, sometimes 3, stand near the edges. No one gathers in the center. The middle of the room remains empty, untouched, like a space reserved for something that has not yet arrived. You move along the wall, letting their words brush past you. You do not hear full sentences, only fragments, not yet too soon. He was seen. They will know. Each phrase ends before it begins. Each thought is broken on purpose, because no one wants to be heard completely. You notice how they stand, not facing each other directly, always angled, always leaving space to turn away without delay. Even conversation here is designed for escape. One pair falls silent as a third man approaches. He does not join them. He simply stands close enough. That is enough to end the exchange. The two separate immediately, walking away as if nothing had been said. The third remains, still, listening to the silence they left behind. You feel it now. The network, not visible, not written, but alive. Messages move through glances, through timing, through absence. Someone not appearing where they should, someone arriving too early. Someone speaking one word less than expected. Everything carries meaning. Everything is read. You step into a side corridor, narrower, dimmer. Here the air is cooler, quieter, but not empty. Footsteps approach from ahead, slow, even. You do not move aside immediately. Neither does the figure coming toward you. For a moment, you both walk on the same line. Then, just before you meet, you shift slightly to the right. He shifts to the left. Perfect. No contact, no acknowledgement. But as he passes, you feel it. A presence that does not bend easily. Not like the others. Less cautious. Or perhaps, more certain. You resist the urge to look back because you understand now. Looking too long becomes a signal, and signals are dangerous. You continue forward. The corridor opens again into light. The sun is higher now. The warmth reaches the stone, softening its edge. But it does nothing to ease what has begun to spread, because now the palace is no longer reacting, it is operating. You see it in the way people no longer wait for instruction. They act before being told. They adjust before being seen. They prepare before anything is announced. The decision from earlier has not ended anything. It has triggered everything. A servant hurries past you, then slows suddenly as he nears a doorway. Inside, someone stands. You cannot see who, but the servant lowers his head deeper than necessary. Too deep. When he rises, his face is pale. He moves on quickly, too quickly. You stop at the edge of the doorway. You do not enter. You do not look inside. You have learned enough. Whatever stands there, others are already adjusting to it, and that is what matters. You step back. The palace hums around you now. Not with noise, with intention. Every movement connected. Every silence filled. You realize something that was not clear before. This is no longer a contest of strength. It is a contest of awareness. Who sees first? Who understands faster? Who moves without being seen moving? And somewhere within this shifting web, the princes are no longer just part of the system. They are the center of it. Every message, every glance, every decision leading back to them. The lines are tightening. The paths are narrowing. And soon there will be no room left to move without choosing a side. The light begins to soften. You do not notice it at first. Only when the shadows stretch longer across the stone do you realize the day has moved forward without asking permission. The sharp brightness of midday fades into something warmer, quieter, but far more uncertain. You step into an open courtyard again. The same space that once felt measured and still now feels altered, not visibly, but in the way people stand, in the distance they keep from each other, in how no one remains in one place for too long. The air carries a faint scent of cooling dust, mixed with the last traces of incense drifting from somewhere unseen. It lingers low, close to the ground, as if unwilling to rise. You walk slowly, carefully, because now movement itself feels like a statement. Ahead, two figures stand near the edge of the courtyard, closer than before. Too close. Their voices are low, almost swallowed by the space between them. But their stillness draws your attention. They are not shifting, not adjusting, not leaving space to retreat. That alone is dangerous. You pass along the outer path, close enough to feel the tension between them. One speaks, short, direct. No softness. The other does not answer immediately. His silence stretches. Not hesitation, deliberation. You feel the weight of that silence press outward, touching everything around it. When he finally responds, his voice is even lower, but it holds something new. Commitment, not to agreement, to a direction. You do not need to hear the words. You feel the decision. It settles into the ground like something heavy and final. You continue walking. But now, the courtyard feels smaller, as if invisible walls have begun to form between people, shaping how close they can stand, how long they can remain, how much they can risk. A group passes behind you. 3 men. Their steps are aligned, almost synchronized, but not quite. Close enough to suggest unity, not perfect enough to reveal it. One of them glances slightly to the side. Only once it is enough. The others adjust their pace, a fraction slower, then faster. A signal passed without sound. You begin to understand how quickly things are changing. This morning, they were watching. Now they are choosing. And once a choice is made, It cannot be undone. You reach the far end of the courtyard, where a low wall separates the open space from a narrow passage. You pause there, resting your hand lightly against the cool surface. The stone feels different now. Not cold, not warm, balanced, as if it too is holding something in place. Behind you, footsteps approach. You do not turn immediately. You listen. 2 sets, one steady, one slightly uneven. They stop a short distance away. You turn. One of the men you saw earlier in the garden stands there. His posture has changed, not dramatically, but enough. There is less hesitation in the way he holds himself, less space between thought and action. Beside him, another figure remains half a step behind. Not a servant, not an equal, something in between. They do not speak to you. They do not acknowledge you, but their presence is not random. They stand where they are meant to stand. Watching the flow of the courtyard, reading it, you realize what they are doing. They are no longer part of the movement. They are directing it. Not openly, not with commands, with presence, with placement, with the quiet control of where they choose to stand and where they choose not to. You step away from the wall. The moment you move, their attention shifts. Not fully, just enough to register. Then it passes. You are not important, but your movement is. Everything is. The sky above begins to change color. Faint gold deepens toward amber. The edges of the rooftops glow softly, then slowly lose their sharpness as the light lowers. Time is moving again, faster than before, and with it, decisions are settling into place. You walk into the narrow passage. Here the air is cooler again, more contained. Sounds do not travel far, which makes every sound that does exist feel closer, more intimate, more dangerous. A whisper reaches you from ahead. You cannot see who speaks, only hear the shape of the words. Tonight, before it is closed, no delay. The voices fade as quickly as they came. You stop, your breath slows, because now the pattern is clear. The day was not for action. It was for alignment, for choosing sides, for placing pieces. And now, as the light begins to fall, the waiting is ending. You take another step forward. The corridor darkens slightly behind you. Ahead, the path narrows, and somewhere beyond it, something is already in motion, not planned, not discussed, already happening, and by the time it reveals itself, it will be too late to step back. The corridor tightens around you as the light continues to fade. It is no longer day, not yet night. Something in between. That uncertain hour where shapes begin to lose their edges and certainty slips into shadow. You step forward, and the sound of your own movement feels louder than it should. The walls seem closer now, holding the air in place. Even the faintest echo returns too quickly, as if the space itself does not want to let anything travel far. Ahead, a glow begins to form. Lantern light, soft at first, then clearer. You emerge into another hall. It is already prepared for night. Lanterns hang along the beams, their warm light flickering against polished wood. The glow is steady, but not strong enough to remove the shadows. Instead, it deepens them. Figures stand within this half-light. Not many, but enough. They are not gathered. They are placed, each one occupying a position that feels chosen rather than accidental. You slow your steps, because here, movement feels like intrusion. A voice breaks the quiet, not loud but unmistakable. It carries a weight that settles instantly across the room. You do not need to see him, you feel him. The Emperor. His presence fills the space without effort. Conversations cease without command. Bodies adjust without instruction. Even the air seems to hold still. As if waiting, you remain at the edge. Unseen, unnoticed, but fully aware. He stands ahead, partially obscured by the arrangement of figures. You catch only fragments. The outline of his form, the stillness of his posture, the way others angle themselves toward him without ever stepping too close. No one speaks first. That is not their place. Time stretches. Then, slowly, one of the princes steps forward. Not rushed, not hesitant. Measured, you recognize the presence. The same controlled weight you felt earlier in the courtyard. He stops at the correct distance. No closer, no farther, and bows. The gesture is flawless, but now, perfection feels like armor. He rises and speaks. His voice is steady, clear, each word shaped carefully, as if it has been practiced, repeated, refined. You cannot hear everything, but you feel the intention. He is not answering, he is presenting, positioning himself within the moment that has finally arrived. The emperor listens, still, unmoving. Then, another prince steps forward, from a different direction. His presence is quieter, but not weaker. He does not rush to match the first. He waits just long enough, then speaks. His voice is softer, but carries further, not through volume, through precision. Two voices now, not arguing, not clashing, but existing side by side. Each one carving space, each one shaping how it will be remembered. You feel the room tighten, because this is no longer hidden, no longer implied. The lines drawn throughout the day are now visible, not spoken aloud, but undeniable. A third figure shifts not forward, just enough to be seen. His presence alone adds weight. Even without words you understand. He is choosing not to speak, and that, here, is its own kind of statement. The emperor's silence stretches again. Longer this time. Heavy, it presses down on every person in the hall. You feel it in your chest, in the way your breath slows without your consent. Because now, this silence is no longer observation. It is judgment forming. A faint movement, so small it almost disappears. The emperor shifts his gaze. You cannot see his eyes, but you see the effect. The first prince straightens slightly. The second lowers his head just a fraction. The third remains still. Each reaction is different. Each reaction is noted. No words follow. None are needed. The message is delivered without sound. The princes step back, one by one, returning to their positions, but nothing returns to how it was. The balance has changed. Not decided, but altered. The emperor turns, slowly, and begins to walk. No command is given, yet the hall responds instantly. Paths open, heads lower. No one looks directly. You step aside as he passes, close enough to feel the shift in air, close enough to understand. This is the center. Not the throne, not the title. The gaze, the attention. The decision that has not yet been spoken. He leaves the hall, and with him, the weight does not lift, it lingers, settling into the walls, into the floor, into the people who remain behind. No one speaks. Not immediately. They stand in the half-light, each holding their place, their thoughts, their choices. Because now they all know. The emperor has seen not everything but enough, and what he has seen will not be forgotten. You take a slow breath. The lanterns flicker, the shadows shift. And somewhere within the palace, the next move is already being prepared. Not in whispers, not in hidden glances, but in the quiet certainty that the moment has come closer than anyone can escape. And when it arrives, there will be no more room to stand between sides. The hall does not empty all at once. It thins, slowly, carefully, as if even leaving must follow a pattern. You remain still for a moment longer, letting others move first. The lanterns sway slightly above, their light shifting across the floor in soft waves. Shadows stretch and pull apart, then gather again, never settling. The air feels heavier now, not tense, decided. You step back into the corridor. Night has taken hold. The sky beyond the courtyard is no longer visible, only a dark depth above the rooftops. The palace is lit from within. Each lantern, a small, controlled flame. Together they do not brighten the darkness, they divide it. You walk along the edge of a long passage. Fewer people now, but those who remain move with purpose. No hesitation, no unnecessary stops. The day has filtered out uncertainty. What remains is direction. Ahead, two figures stand at a crossing. They do not speak, they do not move. They simply face each other. The distance between them is exact. Not too close, not too far. You slow. Watching from the side, one of them lifts his hand. Not fully. Just enough the other responds with a slight tilt of the head. Nothing more, then they part. Each taking a different path, no words exchanged. But something has been confirmed. You feel it settle into the space they leave behind. A decision completed, not debated, not questioned. Carried out. You continue forward. The sound of your steps blends with distant movement, faint and scattered. Somewhere, a door closes. Somewhere else, another opens. The rhythm is irregular now, no longer the smooth flow of morning. This is not a system at work, this is execution. You pass a side hall. Inside, A single lantern burns low. A figure kneels alone, not in prayer, not in rest, waiting. His back is straight, but his hands are tense against his knees. You notice how he does not shift, does not look around, does not even blink more than necessary. He is holding himself in place as if moving too soon would change something he cannot afford to change. You move on. Further ahead, the corridor bends, the light dims, and the sound changes. Quieter, closer. You hear footsteps behind you. Not rushing, not slow. Matching your pace, you do not turn. Not immediately. You let the sound settle. Then at the corner, you shift slightly to the side. The figure passes. A prince, you feel it instantly. Not from his clothing, from his presence. He does not look at you, but everything around him seems to adjust. The air tightens, the space narrows. He walks past without pause. But in that brief moment, you sense something final in him. Not uncertainty, not hesitation. Resolution. He has already chosen, and whatever path he is on, he will not leave it. You watch him disappear into the darker stretch ahead. No guards, no attendants, only direction. You remain still for a breath longer, then continue. The palace feels different at night. Not quieter, sharper. Every sound stands alone. Every movement is isolated. There is no longer a crowd to hide within, only individuals. And each one now carries weight. You reach another courtyard. The lanterns here are fewer. Their light leaves large sections in shadow. You step into it and stop. Across the courtyard, a group stands. 3 figures. Not close together, not apart, positioned. Their heads are slightly lowered, but their eyes move, watching, not each other. The paths, the entrances, the exits. They are not waiting, they are ensuring that what has begun continues. One of them shifts his stance. Just slightly, it changes the balance. The other 2 respond without looking. A step, a pause, a turn. The formation adjusts, you understand now. The lines drawn during the day are no longer invisible. They are being held in place, guarded, maintained. You step back into the shadow. You do not want to be seen here. Not because you matter, but because this moment does. And it does not belong to anyone outside of it. The group remains still, precise, unyielding. You feel it in your chest, the end of something. Not the struggle, the uncertainty, the shifting. It is gone. What remains is direction, chosen, set, moving forward without pause. You take a slow breath. The night deepens. The lanterns flicker. And somewhere beyond this courtyard, the final step is already unfolding. Not announced, not witnessed by all, but certain. And once it is done, there will be no returning to what this day once was. The courtyard remains still, but it is no longer quiet. You can feel it, not in sound, in certainty. You stand in the shadow, watching the 3 figures hold their positions. Their presence anchors the space, fixing every path, every movement, every possibility into place. No one crosses the courtyard without being seen. No one passes without being understood. Then something shifts. Not among them, beyond them. A door opens somewhere deeper in the palace. You do not hear it clearly, but you feel the change ripple outward. The 3 figures respond at once, not by moving forward, by becoming stiller, if that is even possible. Their attention narrows, focusing on a single direction. You follow that invisible line, across the courtyard, into the darkened passage beyond. Footsteps emerge, one set, steady, unwavering. They do not echo. They press into the ground, firm and certain, as if the path itself has already accepted them. The figure appears, not surrounded, not announced, but undeniable. A prince. You know it before your mind forms the thought, because everything else adjusts around him. The air tightens. The shadows seem to step back. Even the lantern light feels as if it is drawn toward him, revealing just enough. Hiding the rest, he walks forward, not quickly, not slowly, exactly as he intends. The 3 figures lower their heads, not deeply, not ceremonially, but enough to mark recognition. Not submission, acknowledgement. He passes through the courtyard without stopping, without looking at them, because he does not need to. They are already aligned, already placed, already his. You feel it settle into your chest. This is it. Not the moment of noise, not the moment of announcement, the moment of completion. Everything that has moved throughout the day has led here. He continues forward, entering the next passage. And the palace responds, not with sound, with change. Doors that were closed remain closed. Paths that were uncertain become fixed. Movement elsewhere slows, then stops, as if the entire structure has recognized the shift and adjusted itself to match it. You step forward slightly, just enough to see the direction he has taken. The darkness ahead does not hide him. It frames him, defines the path he now owns. You do not follow. No one does, because now following is no longer necessary. The direction has already been chosen. The outcome already set in motion. Behind you, the courtyard holds its shape. The three figures remain, but they are no longer watching for change. They are preserving what has been decided. The air feels different. Not heavy, not tense, resolved. You take a slow breath. It feels easier. Not because the danger has passed, but because it has settled. There is no longer a question, only consequence. You turn slightly, looking back across the palace. The lanterns burn steadily. Their light no longer flickers as before. The shadows remain, but they no longer shift. Everything feels still, final. You understand now. The throne was never taken in a single moment. It was taken in silence, in glances, in pauses, in the spaces between words, and by the time it becomes visible, it is already too late to change. You stand there for a moment longer, listening to the quiet, feeling the palace breathe in its new shape. Then, slowly you turn away. Your steps are softer now, not out of fear, out of understanding, because you have seen what few ever notice, not the rise, but the moment before it is named, the moment where everything becomes inevitable, and nothing can return to what it was. The night deepens. The palace rests, but not in peace, in completion. Thank you for walking through this night. If you felt the silence, the tension, the unseen movements that shaped everything, then you have truly been here. If you wish to return again, to step into more hidden moments of history, remember to like this story and subscribe to Bedtime Chinese History Stories. There are always more nights waiting to be told.